Hello. Today I'm going to do something I've not done before on the channel. I like to do playthroughs of games, as people who are on the channel know. But I've had Spruance Leader, I've had it about 4 or 5 days now. And I fly to America on holiday for 2 weeks tomorrow night. And I wanted to do a playthrough before I went, but I'm really not confident enough. I've played a few missions. I'm not confident enough to do a playthrough without making mistakes in it. And one of my pet hates is seeing somebody do a playthrough and you're looking at it thinking, that's not right. I don't think that's right. They've done that wrong. So I'm just not in a position to do it at the moment. So I wanted just to give a few initial impressions of the game itself. I've got quite a few leader games, so I can compare them to that. I've also got the expansion, but I've not touched that yet. So the carrier expansion and the sub expansion, can't really comment on. The other expansion is the Allies expansion, which basically adds adds a lot of extra ships and subs, and I can actually show that on here because I put all my cards in here. And as luck would have it, I've opened up straight away to the Allied expansions there. So as you can see, it's just a lot of extra ships. So you can use those in the main game anyway. So there you go. But, yeah. So that's me talking about the Allied expansion. I think there's, I don't want to know people by missing their country out now, but there's Japanese ships, German ships, French ships, Canadian, Australian, and I think New Zealand, Italian. Did I say French? Yeah. The UK ships aren't in. I don't think there's any extra in the Allied expansion because they're already included in the main game, because there's a Falklands campaign as well. So yeah, Spruance Leader by Dean Brown, who also did B-17 Flying Fortress Leader, which I do like, and there's a few little nuances in that have been brought across to this, some mechanics which work really, really well as well. And I may be talking completely incorrectly, but I think they might have done one of the sub-leader games, but that could be a lie. The only reason I'm going on, I saw one of his YouTube videos, and one of the sub-leader games was on there, but it could have just been him playing it, I don't know. I could even be making all that up, so ignore me, I'm just waffling on now. Okay, so as leader games go, this one's a bit different because you've got other things that I haven't even looked at yet. So you've got the ships, you've got the subs, you do have aircraft in it. Obviously, you've got your helicopters. You can see I've got a Sea Sprite counter there, which the reason I've got that is because on the USS Underwood, it comes with a helicopter. There you go. But it does cost you SO points as well. So you can see the Underwood, Oliver has a prairie frigate, costs 8 SO points. And if you want to have the helicopter added into that, you got 4 SO. If you're familiar with the leader games, here's me starting out half cocked. You'll know there's 6 different levels. So the Underwood here is a green. So you've got newbie, green, average, skilled, veteran, and warrior is the top one. And by earning XP points, you upgrade. So you've got that. The helicopters, you don't have that. They are just as they are, just one card. Any XP points they get for destroying anything goes to the ship itself. Let's start with the campaigns that it comes with. I think there's 9, and the base game. A few variants. The one up there, North Atlantic Skirmishers, is the introductory one. There's no enemy air attacks in that one, so it's a nice, easy one to ease you into. What you have got as well, you've got a linked campaign automatically included. So you've got 3 North Atlantic ones there. Sorry, North Atlantic, and the Atlantic War. All tend to be around the 80s. You've also got a couple of special campaigns, Destroy the Kirov, and up the Falklands Islands as well, which I think was a stretch goal in the Kickstarter. I noticed on the sub one as well, there is the Hunt for Red November, which no prizes for guessing what that's a variant on. Let me talk you through the campaign itself. These are your skill levels that you start with your ships. Medium campaign or a long campaign, the SO points you start with, and each mission you get this number added on at the start. A lot of the other leader campaigns talk about days, so it'd be 6 days. And these talk about targets. And what will happen is, you choose your target, well, you don't choose your target, you turn over a card with the target on, and you'll be in one of these zones. Now, you do have a number of enemy task forces, which depend, I can show it on there, on the bottom of there. So task force here, so 3. So for this one, at the moment, we'd have 3 task forces, and that's these counters here. So you roll 10-sided die, and they go wherever. And this bit is where it lends itself from B-17 a little bit, where you have the Luftwaffe squadrons. So say you target, say you pulled out target number 18. You're setting off from here, you're setting off from America. So each turn you move into there, and if there is a task force there, you have to roll to see if you've got an encounter. And I'm going to a bit more detail than I meant to here, but so you turn over an encounter card. So you roll the die. There is a modifier, an activity modifier, as you can see there. So you'd add 2 to your die roll the way they are at the moment. So that tells you, so it's only if you've got a task, for each task force you've got on there, because you can end up with more than one, you check for the encounter. So you can either have none, low or high. These bits are in the carrier game, so you ignore that for now. So say we've found ourselves with a low encounter, you'd put this many ships and subs of the enemy on the board. Destroy 1 ship and 2 subs, high and low. So that's your high counter, and that's your command and control roll to see if your ship is in, the hostile ship is in control. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself there. So that's your campaign sheets. Same as the other games, you start off, you've got your campaign, you've selected your campaign that you're doing, you have a number of SO points, and that's where you pick your ships. And there are tons and tons of ships to choose from. I did have my first one sunk in the last game. And the way it works, I might as well talk a little bit about that. I've already talked about that. You've got Atlantic ships and Pacific, and they, if you can just see over there, obviously North Atlantic skirmishes, you use the Atlantic ships, and then there's some for the Pacific as well. SO points. These are your radars and sonars. Detect, 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 and that refers to ship, sub and air. So ship, sub, air. Tells you what weapons you can have. You've got your stress levels as well, where if you go above that stress level, you can see I've got some stress counts on there. So the Underwood are currently in my campaign at 6 stress. So he's currently shaken. If it was any more than that, he wouldn't even be able to go out. But I will try and rest him next turn. Tells you if it comes with a helicopter. Cool, which if there is a number there, that helps you to reduce the amount of stress that they take during an encounter. And this is, again, this is another one that's a bit different. Usually, most of the leader games, you're only incurring stress for each target. So you do a target. With this, you incur stress for each encounter. So you can have that one I've just shown you, the Richard Byrd, got 6 stress just from 1 target, because we had a number of encounters there. Noise modifier, so that's you subtract that. That's protection against torpedo damage, missile damage. That should try and repair. No idea on the oil, and that's how many. That's your hull damage. So he can take 2 hits before he is destroyed. So those are the cards. So you select them, and if you've got any other leader game, you'll be familiar with this setup because virtually all the mission logs are the same. You then set up these cards looking at the placement up there. So you roll, let's show the card first, a few modifiers there. So you've got a placement roll there, which is, you can't really see that there, but you roll a die and that tells you where on this line you place that. And same for the subs. I'll explain that in a moment. So movement, same up there, you have a modifier which tells you for the ships and the subs what they're going to do that turn, whether they're going to patrol, which means they stay where they are, whether they're going to close the range with the subs, whether they flank, because ideally the subs want to be out onto the sides where they get a modifier to their attack ratings, and whether they ping, so if they're going to use active sonar to try and detect the other ships. And similar to the allied ones, you've got what the torpedo ratings are. So when you roll your die, what you need to do to hit, there's a number of modifiers that apply to that. The number of contacts that they can check for each turn. That's your sub card. And the ships are very similar. You can see that's got a star against it. That one hasn't. If you sink that, you get an extra XP, the ship that sunk it. The KA-25, that's the Russian helicopter, so I've not used that. I think that comes into the carrier game. They have the hull damage as well still there. So you start your encounter. I've not shown you any target cards yet, have you? So there are your target cards. Enemy wolf pack. How many task force? That's the task force to move this counter to one side if you're successful. 5 victory points. And it tells you what you've got to do with each target. So now your target cards. Right. So you get your encounter. Now, if it's a task force encounter rather than a target encounter, you don't necessarily know what you're going to face. So as I showed you on here, I'm glad there is a sub there. If on a low encounter, you get 2 subs. But you don't know what they are. It's potential subs. So rather than place that comes in once you've identified it. You try and detect it first. So you'd have this card there. You got your noise modifier on it, but you don't know what it is. Once it's detected, you then look on the other side and you roll. So on a 1 to a 7 for this one, you end up, it is an enemy sub, and you pull a card off there, see what it is. But 8 and a 10, it's a nothing, it's false contact, so you don't have anything. So I did have one encounter where there was 2 enemy subs in theory, and I ended up not having any face because both of them rolled nothing. So it was didn't take anything. You've got your screening force here. You decide how many, same as other games, you decide how many to put into your task force each turn. If you don't take one with you, I left this one to one side in the last game, last mission, you can reduce 2 stress. So just the same as most of the air leader games, you get to reduce the stress as you go along. These stay in place. One thing I knew I'd waffle all over. You also have task force commanders alongside it. They accumulate stress and XP as well. Now you've got different skill levels, just the same. And they can actually move the task force. So although these stay in place, if you've got 2 ships there and I decide to move the task force, you do that. So it shows them coming forward. We've got different levels of detection markers when you try to use either your sonar, your radar, towed array. The red ones are showing it's active. So anybody who's into the ships knows that if your sonar's active, it pings out and then it comes back, but it goes further than you can have it coming back. So as a result of that, it makes you susceptible to being detected. I sound like I know what I'm talking about there, don't I? So if you use an active sonar, and same for the enemy ships, you have that next to it, which potentially raises the noise level. So if they try and detect you, or you try and detect them, you're more likely to be successful. The enemy can't attack you without detecting you, so they'll pull chits to see which ones they're trying to detect. And then you've got 4 detection levels. You've got 0 to 3, which again, the better the detection level, the more chance of hitting with a missile because of your modifiers. So that's a bit blurry there. What else have we got? If you do get hit, you pull out one of these chits. Let's use a couple. So it can be a torpedo or a missile. So let's have a look. So for the missile, that missile in particular, your ship would accumulate 2 stress and 1 hull damage. If it's a torpedo, ship will be destroyed. Same there with that missile. That's quite a good one. I've not seen that one so far. So it's fire, but no actions. It's repairable. So, and then torpedo, no hull damage, but stress level of 4. So you've been hit, but it's not damaged the hull. Now you've got weapons wise, you've got a lot to go at. You can see that. You've got sonar buoys there as well for your helicopters. All sorts in there. I've only used a fraction of them at the moment. I'm just trying to look at what else we've got in here that I haven't mentioned. See, some of it I've not used yet. You've got different focus areas. Deep. I'll just talk about that briefly in a moment. It's something I'm not using yet. Air wings for the carrier squadron. That's just to notify the ships. That's a rescue count. So if your ship is sunk, as mine was, you've got to spend an action from one of your ships next turn rescuing. Otherwise, all your other ships accumulate stress because you've left your survivors in the sea. These are commander skills. Again, I've not used those yet, so you can buy those, I think. What else have we got? The special counts for Red November. And these are ground forces, which again I've not come across yet. There are a lot more counters than that as well. I've not, as you can see, these are for your support ships and your planes. Helicopters. You've got Russian planes there, which I've not used yet. Some of these will have Air Force squadrons on. Let's see if I can find one. See there, you've got backfire bomber air base there. MiG attack zone. So yeah, you've got various ones there. Aircraft attack there. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else in particular I've missed. I don't think so. The only other thing which maybe not, is, let's say on this one, the mission location is here. So you've moved past these, you've either had the encounter or avoided them, you get to there. That task force is not going to come into play because these don't move. This is where they are. You then complete your target card. Once you've done that, that's it. That's the end of that target. So you've either been successful or you haven't. You don't have to come back. It's just going up there. And then you've got your evaluation as normal. Do I need to go into anything else today? I don't think so. As I say, I'm away for a couple of weeks. I'll do a bit more of a refresher on this, and there is one thing I'm going to mention, but then I'll do a proper playthrough for people. As I say, Dean has got one on YouTube, which is good, and did answer a few questions for me as well. So that's in the Facebook group, and I think he's quite active on Board Game Geek. And if you're not in the Facebook group and you've got Spruance Leader, join the Spruance Leader group, because Dean is really good at answering questions on there, so he'll sort you out straight away. These cards I haven't mentioned, Sense of Performance. These are optional, so you can either go deep. There's the thermal layer. Can't talk to you about those really at the moment because I've not used them. I'm doing the basic game at the moment until I've got my head around things. And what I can say is, I think this is going to be my favourite leader game. I'm really, really enjoying playing it. Can't wait to get to the sub one as well, and the carrier one. I've just dug out Red Storm Rising to read again, and somebody recommended that book as well, which is about a carrier battle in a fictional World War III, I believe. So I've got that to read. I'm not doing a book review now, but there's another one called Northern Fury. So anybody who's got the computer game Command, Command, Modern Air and Naval Operations, it was based on that game, so it's only the first part. That one is either Northern Fury or Cold Fury, but yeah, I've got that one to read as well. Anyway, as I was doing before, I'm just waffling now. So I hope that helped a little bit. I know it was very brief and it was very all over the place, but it might have given you a little bit of an idea of what's going on with the game, and there'll be a playthrough to come. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and I will be back soon.